Hi, you're listening to the Childfree Wealth Podcast. We're your hosts, Bri and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast. All right, Dr. J. So we previously talked about what the standard life plan is and retirement. Can we talk more this week about FIRE versus FILE? So financial independence, retire early versus financial independence, live early. Can you tell us more about that and what those concepts are?
Absolutely. So just a shout out, there actually is a Child-Free FIRE financial group on Facebook. If you get a chance, join that. Cody runs a good group there. There are a whole bunch of online groups talking about FIRE right now. It is like the topic. FIRE is on fire. No, really can't go to that. That's too late. But financial independence, retire early. Part of that comes out of people just like hating their jobs. Let's be real on that. Jobs suck, and I want to quit my job. Makes sense, and I want to do it early. Makes sense. But to do that, I have to be financially independent, and I have to retire early. And the FIRE movement, you'll hear it said, there's all different varieties of it. And my thing on the FIRE movement is to pick a recipe and stick by it. I don't care which one. There's lots of them. They all work. You'll see a lot of people, they like the Bogle approach and how they, pick one specific ETF and just let it run. And I'm being vague because I can't tell you which ones, but you can Google those things and they'll say it, and do this and do that. Cool. If that works for you, great. Pick up the book, Simple Path to Wealth, read it, follow it, you'll get to FIRE. It is that simple. You don't have to make it more complex. But just like everything else, there's like different flavors. So in the FIRE world, it goes from lean FIRE, which my example of this is that's like you're eating ramen noodles for the rest of your life, to fat FIRE, which is like you have your own private chef.
That sounds like my type of FIRE.
I'm okay with that. And somewhere in the middle is chubby FIRE and all, there's all different levels. And by the way, there's no exact math on it. They'll fight over, well, I fat fired. And then you go, well, but what's your expenses and what's your, we talked about in a previous episode that a lot of the FIRE groups use the safe withdrawal rate, which is 4%, which has its own things. It's back and forth, but let's just use the number. And that says if you have 25 times your expenses, that's your FIRE number. So you can fire at that. Well, if I'm fat firing, my number is probably 5 or 10 million minimum. Where if I'm lean firing, I might be able to do it for 500,000 or less. Now, mind you,
500,000, really?
Yeah. So watch this. 500,000 will get you about 20 grand a year in expenses.
Okay.
If you've paid off your house and you're a low cost of living area, you can do that. By the way, not by much, but
yeah, that seems real tight. Okay.
Well, that's lean FIRE. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I wasn't kidding about that. You're living on ramen noodles.
Huh. I guess I just never expected that to be like something people are like, yes, that's what I want to do. Yeah, it's just very surprising to me.
Well, I mean, this is where we start mixing FIRE with minimalists and all that. I mean, there's ways to do it. And I'm not judging. You can do it however you want. We all have different things. So my own numbers, this is what me and my wife talked about. It's kind of like 5 million is the minimum. 10 is where I'd like to be, which is a fat FIRE number. And I want to buy a boat and travel the world. And, the difference between 5 million and 10 million is whether or not we have a crew member to help us out. Now, by the way, that sounds a little ridiculous. It is. But that's just,
I don't think so. I am like ready to hire somebody to buy my groceries today.
Well, and this is the question of what life you want to live. The earlier you want to retire, you either need to make more money or you need to have less expenses.
Yep.
So true. I live in Mississippi and it's cheap to live here. I mean, cheap. You could buy a house that's livable for 50 grand. And in other areas, you can't buy a house for less than $500,000.
Okay, so when you say you can buy a house for 50 grand, those are probably like way out in the middle of nowhere though, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have no DoorDash. I have no delivery. I don't even have pizza delivery. Actually, they deliver one day a week or something like that. But
what?
Yeah, I have nothing. Wow. When I say I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'm 30 minutes from the grocery store.
Okay.
you can be in the
Yep.
middle of nowhere and have a low cost of living life. And I mean, it's just a different way of living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my next move, I'll probably live in a city where I can have some DoorDash. Like, seriously, like I want some delivery. But all of that will adjust your fire number.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hate your job, you want to quit, you want to retire as early as possible, lower your expenses.
Very true.
Now, the one that I start having some issues with is this concept of barista fire. Now, barista fire is, hey, this is where it comes from. Doesn't mean you literally have to be a barista, but I'm going to go be a barista at Starbucks and get my healthcare benefits and retire.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be picky here. If you're still working, you are not retired.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Then barista fire cannot exist.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah.
I can see the hate mail already of people, living the life. And here's the thing, from a financial standpoint, a financial plan about retirement is different than a financial plan about still working.
Mm-hmm. Because you're still bringing in that income and not having to pay for those healthcare expenses if you're getting them from somebody else.
Really what they're talking about is, I want to quit what I'm doing and do something else. I'm okay with that. That's not retirement. See, this is where it sounds like semantics, but your goal will change your financial plan. And I found this when I was researching for my book, Portrait of Childfree Wealth. There are a whole lot of child-free folks that didn't really want to retire. They wanted to just cut back on work or start a business or a nonprofit or do something else. And then they would do that for the rest of their life. See, retirement is part of the standard life plan. You work 25 years, you get to watch, you retire, you're done. Well, that doesn't fit us. So I coined this concept called FILE, Financial Independence, Live Early. And if FIRE is an on-off switch for work, FILE is a dimmer switch. It's about doing the right amount of work at the right time, in the right place, and finding that balance. And let me give you an example of this. So the gentleman in my book, his name is Ryan, he had retired early and found that it kind of sucked. This is kind of boring, whatever. And the challenge with fire folks is always what do you do 2 years after you retire? You've gone through your bucket list. You're like, hey, I've done all those. I've done the traveling. Now what? Mm-hmm. So Ryan said, hey, didn't love it. So he went back. He opened his own company. He actually does some marketing stuff. His rules: never more than 25 hours of work, never on Friday, never before 10 a.m. I'm like, I'm liking that. What do you think, Bri?
Those are great rules. I kind of have similar rules for myself as far as days I start and times I start, because I think it helps you control a little bit of your life more, especially when you do work for yourself and have the option. And so I'm all with that 10 a.m. Don't start before 10 a.m. there, because I like to go do things in the morning.
Yeah, and when I met him, he was packing up him, his wife, and his dog, and they were going to go to Palm Springs and work from there for a month.
Oh, Palm Springs! My heart's in Palm Springs. I like a house there.
So he's living what I would call the FILE lifestyle, balanced. He has this idea, and by the way, the downside of FILE is you don't actually stop working, and your retirement actually will be delayed if it exists at all. But he loves it. And he didn't use the term FILE. That's my term. But I poked him a bit. I'm like, okay, you own your own company. Yep. I said, so what happens if somebody wants to work with you on Friday? Can you turn down that client? And he was on the West Coast, and he had somebody in the East Coast that always wanted to meet before 10 a.m. He's like, yep. I just told him I can't work. I'm not available. They kept on pushing me. For this time, for this meeting. I said, nope, we had to part ways as a customer. And I got to give him credit, because I'm not sure I'm that good to pass up a customer.
Really?
Oh, my problem is if a customer needs help, I get suckered in all the time. I have pretty set hours, so, Fridays I cut out at about 3:30. But if somebody really needs me, I'm probably going to be there because they need me. And I don't know. Maybe that's just my guilt. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so question with this. do you have email and email notifications set up on your phone?
Yes.
See, that's where you and I differ. I do not have, I have my email, but I have it turned off. So I have to manually go in there and turn it on to look at it.
Yeah,
So
you're better than I am.
Well, you're getting those notifications, so then you see it. Whereas, like, I just don't see it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the people, like, don't need the help or something. Like I literally have a worry list. I have a list of clients that I worry about because of wherever they are in their life, what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I break my rules for those people on the worry list.
I don't know, Jay. Dr. J, I gotta give it to you. I guess good for you, but also, like, boundaries, man.
I'm with you, by the way. This is the file problem. Okay,
yeah.
What happens when you get offered overtime, whatever you get work, if you're running your own company? Like, I want to live a file life. I actually made a shift. I had been working more towards fire. You know, I had data 59 and a certain number, and I wanted to buy a boat and this and the other. And I was like, okay, boating's what I enjoy. I haven't had a boat in a decade. And I broke down and said, you know what? I'm going to buy one now, not the dream boat, a nice one, just okay enough, and go enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But that delays my fire number. And that's kind of like my first step towards file. Like I was like, I'm going to go in that direction. But I will tell you, it messes my head a little because I'm like, well, that's going to slow down my numbers. It messes things up. I will tell you, funny one. Because we serve child-free folks, we serve dinks and sinks, dual income, no kids, single, no kids. My boat's name is Think. 2 healthy incomes, no kids. So on my calendar, it says I have thinking time. That is when I go on the boat.
Okay, I saw this on the calendar and I was actually going to ask you. I was like, wow, you do a lot of thinking. But now that you say it's for the boat, that makes so much more sense. Okay,
Bri literally has my schedule. And like literally it says thinking time on it. So my wife will be away for a conference. I'm going to go on the boat for the week. And, that's when I write or do whatever I got to do. I'm working on writing my second book right now. But that's my thinking time. All right?
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to embrace more of this file lifestyle of kind of like that balancing act. I will tell you, it's somewhat harder than fire because fire is like, I'm just going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to work as hard as I can so I can quit work as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. File is more that balance. I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. Okay, so my generation, I was raised, you always work hard. My parents taught me, no matter what you do, you are the best at it. If you're going to be the fry cook at McDonald's, you're the best at it. You just always, by the way, that's stuck in my head, and that's probably my own psychosis of, got to be the best at it, got to do that. Well, maybe, I need to shift that. I mean, this is part of being child-free is we can do different things differently. Maybe I need to shift it to that file approach a little bit more. I can see it, Bri. You think I'm crazy.
I totally get where you're coming from because it's very much like what I was raised to do too, like on all the time. And I just had some experiences in my life. This is something that everybody knows, but I actually was found unconscious about 5 years ago and I'm all right. But it was just an eye opener that I need to, like, I signed my will last week and I'm 25 years old. Like, I hope that is not I hope it doesn't have to be used anytime soon. But it really made me realize that, nobody knows what tomorrow is. And it's important to also live and enjoy life now and be around the people that you care about because you don't know if you're going to be waking up tomorrow. So I got really good with my boundaries after that happened. And it was kind of just a wake-up call for me. One that I got quite early in life.
And, I've had my own wake-up calls, but I still am stuck. Mm-hmm. So, by the way, if you want to get, like, crazy about this, as you go into this fire debate and all that, you start going into your own psychology and the life plan, the standard life plan. You want to mess with somebody? Retire at 40, and then they'll go, wait a minute, that's impossible. Well, no, It is possible, especially if you're child-free. So it starts messing with because we have these things that are inbred in us, and hopefully we don't all need to go unconscious to like figure that out, that we should find a balance. But it's the old school way. They used to call it the Protestant work ethic. It's just a way our culture was made or our country was made. Is you just got to work yourself to the bone. And we need to get rid of that and find a balance.
Absolutely.
But see, fire like hits that psychology of like work really hard and be done.
Mm-hmm.
File's like, let me figure out what's important in life. You know,
Yeah.
we talk about the book Die with Zero. It's that balance between, time, money, and health. Let's do that now.
I 1000% agree.
So I'll give you an example of this, and she may enjoy us on a podcast in the future. One of my clients is a dinks, dual income, no kids. When you have two incomes, you can embrace the file approach and what we call the garden of the rose, where one's growing and one's providing support. And in their case, she took a 6-month sabbatical to figure out what's important in life. By the way, awesome. If you can afford it, a 6-month sabbatical, way to go. And the way I do the sabbaticals, you take 2 months off to watch Netflix, do nothing. And I'm not literally watch Netflix. You need to stop, working. Then 2 months to figure out what you want to be, and then 2 months to do it. She's writing a novel. She's got the novel done. She's now going to be work on publishing as an author. That's awesome. The file lifestyle. That's the balance.
Yeah, that is.
Gave up a great paying job to go do it. Set back her retirement, technically. Mm-hmm. But she'll write for the rest of her life.
And she's probably a lot happier.
Oh, I can tell you she is.
Yeah.
And I've had other people, embracing file. I got one that's doing the AT trail. I got somebody else who's taking a sabbatical, trying to figure out what they want to be. I got another one that's balancing this and going, when do I sell my business and when do I cut out? And the answer was, well, I'm not going to cut out my business, but I'm going to spend more money and like enjoy it. I'm like, okay, whatever that combo is. It's somebody that wanted to, for some reason, a lot of people want to start their own business or start their own initiative, start their own nonprofit or follow their dream. I got one that's going back to school. I don't know. All different types of things. The people go, well, that's not possible if I want to retire. You're right. Because if you want to retire, you got to keep going up in the path. They call it the hedonic treadmill. You just keep working more, so you buy more, so you work more, so you buy more. I call it the dribble wheel. It's just constantly, you're just running it. You're not getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. But if you can stop and go, hey, you know what? Would I be happier if I was making half as much money, but working a job I enjoy? The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. I call this Marie Kondoing your life. Get rid of the stuff you don't enjoy and focus on the stuff you do. And people go, well, that's ridiculous. Well, it may be. But you know what? Does the big house and the big mortgage make you happy? No. Well, then sell it. Downsize. People are like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you can. And if you downsize, you might be able to shift jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's where people are like, huh?
That's crazy. I think those are all very good points that are often overthought because, I was watching a show and the person is debating whether or not to sell their home. And they said it feels like they're failing because they worked really hard to buy this home. Well, it's just too much for them. Why keep it? You don't have to keep any of those things. That's a standard life plan like we talked about in a previous episode, coming and telling you have to. Nobody said you had to do that. And I sometimes feel that pressure seeing people buy houses. Like, I don't actually want to buy a house, but the only time that I think I should buy a house is when I see a post from somebody who's bought a house. So it is very much ingrained. And I think especially in my generation, where we grew up on social media and we see what people are doing all of the time, it can be very easy to say, we need to do that too. And then go and do those things, which delay what we actually want to do.
Yep. And let's be real. Fire is much sexier than file on social media. Like if I can here's my great house and here's my private chef and here's my whatever I want to show off, that's a fire life. File is like, you know what? I cut back. I'm going to work as a librarian for the rest of life because I enjoy that. That does not show so well on social media.
Yeah. It's not as fun to look at. It's not going to be.
That being said, I will say one of the file spins I do see a lot is the nomads. I want to live in a camper or van. By the way, not always as sexy as social media makes it out to be either. But you know what? Cool. Sell the house, move to an RV, cut your costs, and do it. For my book, I had somebody, he and his wife moved to Colorado, are living in an RV with their 2 cats. Now, by the way, living in an RV, that's questionable. Living with 2 cats in an RV, I don't know. I got a cat and 2 dogs, so it'd be crazy. But he's making video games and video games are one of those, like, you either make no money or a lot of money. There's nowhere in between. And she's working in healthcare, and he's kind of the rose growing at this point. They're happier than ever. Now, somebody would look at him and go, yeah, but you're living in an RV. Yeah, well, if it works for them, it works for them. Yeah. Now, we can have a separate discussion about, like, people that live on boats, that's glamorous. But people that live in RVs, that's not. It's the same thing. And I say that as a boat person. But, like, you can find that balance and live your life. And for anyone listening, we'll link to Taking a Sabbatical, The Garden of the Rose File, and all those articles so that you can dive in. But really the question is, what do you care about? And for most people, the answer is, I don't care about retirement or passing on money in the child-free population. So, okay, what do you care about? Well, I care about giving back. Well, go do that now. You don't have to wait until you're 70.
Yep.
As Bri was calling out, you might not get 70.
Yeah, you just never know.
So, Bri, are you a file or fire person?
I have not set. I don't think I'm a fire person, so I'd say I'm a file person. Yeah. Thinking about it, I'm a file person.
By the way, you don't have to pick one. It's not like, you got to pick a denomination for church. But but it's like, it just shifts the approach. I will say one spin on fire that I do like. Cody Garrett, one of my colleagues over at Measure Twice Planners, talks about fire as financial independence, recreational employment. I like that reframing. I don't use that one because people get the fire term's just too well known to do that. So I'm challenging people to use the term file. Although file does not sound really as cool as fire. I'm with you. Like it's the more boring one, but it works. I do wonder. I just wonder. I don't have an answer. Is file more of a choice for people who are child free because you don't have the same requirements, same pressures as somebody that has kids? Might be something that's unique to us or more unique to us. I mean, not that parents can't do it, but I think it is an option. And file combines very well with die with zero. So if you're saying, hey, I don't care about how much money I pass on to the next generation, cool. We'll make sure you don't run out of money, but maybe you can make different choices. The core of file, when I really dive into this with clients, is you can make different investing choices. Rather than investing in the market, you can invest in you. Invest in you going back to school, invest in you taking time, take a sabbatical, invest in you starting a business, invest in whatever it is. Yeah. And people go, well, is that the best financial choice? No, it's not. Is it the one that's going to bring you more joy?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what my wife and I are doing right now. It is not the best financial choice for me to go back and go through my CFP, but I'm way happier than what I was doing. And so I think people need to find that for themselves. What brings them joy?
I don't know. I will tell you. Everybody's listening to this in the comments. Share what brings you joy. What is it that really brings you joy in life? And then my next question is, so why don't you do it? Here's a fun way to do it with your friends. Go around the room and ask them, if money didn't matter, what would you do for a job? And now you can do anything you want. And what usually happens, people go around the room, and one of my favorite answers was somebody wanted to be the bartender at a swim-up bar. I'm like, that's a pretty nice gig. Okay, let's be real.
I like that. I would do that for a job.
I'd be a boat captain, think like below deck, I'd be the captain on the boat or whatever. So I go, okay, cool. What would you want to do? Go around the room. Next, after everybody give their answers, they'll have fun and laugh. Go around the room one more time and go, so why don't you do that now? And people are like,
yeah.
If you want to go be the bartender at the swim-up bar, you might not have a fancy house or a fancy car, but you could have a different quality of life. Go do it. Why don't I go be a boat captain? Because we're embracing the Garden of the Rose. My wife's got her chance right now for the career. But I'll tell you, when it's my turn to be the Rose, I'm going to be the boat captain.
Do you have the hat too?
No, my head is way too big for those hats. It doesn't fit well.
Darn.
But I do have a shirt that says, I'm the captain. What I say is goes. So,
Oh, my goodness.
I'm joking with it. But where I'm going with this is have this discussion. It's a fun one, especially around some drinks. And what you'll find is most people are not doing what they enjoy.
Yeah.
And they'll go, well, because of finances. And that's where I go, bull. If you're doing it because of finances, really what you're telling me? They go, well, I make $100,000. I can't give up $100,000 to go be the bartender at this one bar. I go, so really what you're telling me is $100,000 is enough for you to be miserable. Yep. And they go, no. Well, I didn't say it that way, but I'm like, and then they'll go, well, but I went to school for all this. That's nice. The choice you made when you're 18 does not have to impact you when you're 40.
Exactly.
Or 25 or whatever.
Yeah, I did not go to school for finance, I can tell you that much. But here I am.
Where I'm going with this, don't make retirement the goal if that's not what you want. Make your happiness and joy.
That's all for this week's episode of Childfree Wealth Podcast. Be sure to follow Childfree Wealth on social media, email us at podcast@childfreewealth.com, or visit our website, www.childfreewealth.com.